What's going on, guys? This is going to be a comprehensive list of every single complaint that I've seen on the internet. Some of them I agree with and some of them I don't. We've had Mario Strikers Battle League for over a week now, so it should be no-brainers what we like and what we don't. I will say before I get into it, I am having fun with the game. I'm definitely getting my money's worth and I would recommend it to people, but having a video like this is important because no one is safe from criticism. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense about the game that are easy fixes, and I hope that they listen. Let's start off with Strikers Club because this is by far my biggest problem with the game. Personally, I just want one ranked mode. I want to be able to have ranked matchmaking by myself without having any other restrictions. So with that being said, it's terribly restrictive to be forced to join a club with 20 other people just to play ranked mode. And yes, it's necessary to join with that many people because each person is only allowed to bring one character into the game. The Strike Club is only allowed to use the characters of its members. So that means that if you only have 2 people in your club and you're trying to play 2v2, you can only play 2 of the characters that you bring in. The other 2 characters are given to you at random when the match starts, which is atrocious. I have no idea what they were thinking when they thought this. Now, this wouldn't be a horrible mechanic if you could join multiple clubs, but unfortunately, the only way you can have control over the characters you use is if you have 3 other people that are all in agreement of what characters they want on their team. It is nice that you're able to join public clubs or create a club public so that other people can join and bring in their characters, but again, you do not have control over what characters they bring in. It may not be the characters that you want and the builds that you want. And of course, most of you guys watching this video know if you guys want to, you can join a Discord or you can find people on Reddit. There's a bunch of locations you can find other people trying to make clubs and you can communicate with them. But the majority of people, and I'm telling you this, you are not the majority of people do not want to go through all that trouble just to play ranked. I personally don't understand why they didn't go the route of Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 has a ranked mode and it also has a league mode if you want to join a league and play with a specific set of people. But those ranked modes are completely separate and you can join either one if you don't want to play with other people. I can assure you, I have been around the Nintendo Online community for more than 7 years now. If I can't find people I'm willing to play with online who can join my club exclusively, then the average person isn't going to either. I don't know if they expected this game to just blow up so hard that every single person is going to be making groups of 4 like in Fortnite, but this is just a horrible restrictive system that nobody is going to want to play to its fullest potential. Though I will say all the club management and the customizations of your field are really nice. That's something that they didn't have to do. I just wish you can do that normally without having to go through your Strikers Club. Here's a big one. Gear doesn't have customizable loadouts. There's many different ways to build Bowser. You can have Speed Bowser, you can have Striker Bowser, you can have Technique Bowser, and I don't want to go back into this menu every single time I want to switch. On top of that, if I ever want to play locally, I'm player 1, they're player 2, we can't play the same characters unless we have the exact same build. They just do not have the ability to save more than one build so that the other person can choose what they want. That's just really stupid. Why can't I just save sets, like 3 sets? That's all I want. 3 sets for each character. I don't care. Just give me some loadouts. Also, why can't I have preset teams? I use the same 4 characters every time. Why do I have to input every single one individually with this laggy menu? Next one is going to be the single player because the single player is just all over the place. I'm honestly not going to complain much about the so-called lack of content because it's really hard to make a single player for a sports game like this. The only thing that I'm really complaining about is the AI and how they work. Honestly, they just cheat sometimes. It's one thing to make an AI really hard in the way that they're positioned and the way that they play the game, but the way they design the AI is just really restrictive to players to the point where they pretty much have frame perfect inputs as soon as you pass. Like, look at that. I didn't even pass it to Rosalina and they already knocked her out. It honestly feels like the CPUs are reading your inputs at any one point, so it makes it impossible to counter. For example, if you were to pass, they're going to switch their control and knock over the guy you pass to, but if you don't pass, they're just going to tackle the ball carrier. You can't win in that scenario unless you get lucky and their AI decides to let you go. I mean, the AI is beatable. It took me about 3 hours to get through the Galactic Cup, but my god, it's such a slog, and it seems like it's so random whether or not they score a lot of goals or if they just kind of let you be. It kind of feels like the only way to actually win is to grab the strike orbs and cheese them with items so that you can score 2 goals at once. That being said, I mean, I guess it would have been nice if there was a fuller, more compact story mode in the game. where we can actually follow along. Maybe there's evil characters, maybe there's some sort of unlockable like there was Super Team on the GameCube, but the only unlockable characters we're going to be getting are through a bunch of whack free DLC that we don't even know when it's going to come out, so who knows. Hey, I scored. Next complaint is that the passing stat just isn't good enough. I'm like, there's a lot of people who love the passing stat, and I'm going to stand by it. It's a pretty good stat, but it's just not nearly as useful as something like technique. I can run a whole team of toads and I can be passing back and forth and everything, but it's just not going to make a huge difference in the fact that they can't really score goals if they have a higher passing. As far as we know, the only big difference in passing stat is that it makes the ball travel faster to the target, and it also makes it so that your free pass goes a longer distance. As you can see, Toad can launch it all the way across the field, but also I don't really see a good use of that, because if you're doing that to, say, clear the ball, you can just tap the A button and any character can do that. So it seems like almost on every build, if you're going to choose one stat to get rid of, you're going to choose passing, because not every character is going to need it. It might be good to have a couple characters who can pass just so you can set up maybe from the baseline, but it just doesn't make a huge difference. Check out the shot. Look at that. Can't even score from there. Maybe this one? Nope. Maybe you can score this time. Nope. That's why I said, like, it's not really useful to have passing at all, because if all of your characters have passing, you're just not going to score any goals. And honestly, I think that the problem with passing isn't necessarily the differences it makes in the passing speed. It's just how small the field is. It doesn't make a difference if the ball gets there maybe quarter second faster than if the character has low passing. It doesn't make any difference because the field is so small, your opponent is going to be there to cover it regardless. Also, every character can perfect pass. So if you're really, really good, you can make use of small passing if you have good timing. I mean, heck, sometimes if you want to do a one-time pass, having high passing is a restriction because the ball's going to get there too fast for you to even do the input. Good job, Yoshi. While I'm here playing this, can we please talk about why the targeting of which character I choose to is so bad? I mean, come on. Sometimes it's going to choose the character that's closest to the ball, and sometimes it chooses some guy way off to the corner. It's sort of like, it kind of feels like a statistic based on how close they are to the ball, right? If you're really close to the ball, you're likely going to be the guy who it chooses to pass to. But if you're, say, the bottom left toad, it never switches to the bottom left toad, except for sometimes. A very low chance of it happening, but you can't really get control of that character unless you get really lucky. It's really stupid. It doesn't even seem to read if the character is passing well, because obviously the game knows who the recipient of the pass is. It should be telling the game to give control to the person who is closest to the guy receiving the pass, but sometimes it doesn't even do that. It kind of makes it so that if you're playing as one person, you're at a severe disadvantage because you're never getting the character you need. Also, let's get the obvious out of the way. Boom Boom's AI is terrible. Yada, yada, yada. You all know the complaints. To be fair, if the game was balanced around everyone having as bad shooting ability as Toad, then the game, Boom Boom wouldn't be that bad. I mean, look at this. He stops everything. When Toad has low shooting and low technique, Boom Boom's going to make those stops. Look at this. He's not going to make that from midfield. He's going to knock out the Yoshi, though. It kind of feels like the people who are in charge of balancing the game just purposefully chose the worst characters in the game and then never tested characters like Mario or Rosalina with maximum shooting and tech. Because based on my test, having a 60% shooting rate is just unacceptable. I don't know how they were able to make that and say, yeah, that's a pretty fair game. Maybe that's the meta. Just have everyone play Toad, and then sometimes you'll get some corner shots like that. Only sometimes, though. Oh my god. See, what was that, Boom Boom? That was crazy. There's no reason Boom Boom should ever miss that. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. That's a bad shot. But he missed it, and the only reason it didn't go in is because it hit the post. That's insane. It's like he didn't move. It's just random whether or not he moves. But it just feels like maybe 30% of the time, Boom Boom is just asleep at the wheel. Another problem is the item balance and the item frequency. Why the heck can I go up by 1 goal and then the opponent gets a star? The star is just an incredibly powerful item. I understand that it's meant to be a powerful item. So why is it that you give it to them pretty much for free whenever I score 1 goal? It should be incredibly rare to get a star, and I think you should only get it if you are more than 2 goals behind. So if it's 4-1 or if it's 3-0, then it'll start dropping stars. But for it to give stars when it's 1-0 with 3.5 minutes still on the clock, that's just ridiculous, because it'll basically set up so many things for the enemy team, including hyper strikes, to the point where they're going to be able to come back and win off of that. Also, I have no idea why they would make it so you can use items as the person who is currently doing a hyper strike. That just doesn't make any sense either. You're basically just saying that if you get the strike orb while you have 2 items, which by the way, they give you 2 items for free whenever you get scored on. Like, getting 2 items shouldn't be a free 2 goals. It should be a free 1 goal. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm perfectly fine getting 1 goal with an item. I think that's perfectly fair. But 2 goals for free with an item, that's just ridiculous. God, Toad sucks. Come on, how do you miss that from the goal line? Other than that, I think that the items are actually pretty good. It reminds me a lot of the good parts of Super Mario Strikers on the GameCube, where there's not a lot of OP items. Of course, that game did have the chain chomp, and this game doesn't even have the chain chomp. But, you know, if it didn't have stars, the item balance would be absolutely perfect. Lastly, is the online play 4v4. Why would they make it that you can't, under any mode, be able to play 4v4 with 8 separate people? I do not understand. It honestly feels like this entire game was built around the idea of 4 people facing 4 people. That's why they allowed 8-player multiplayer. That's why the field is so small. That's why the AI character switching sucks. The game was made for 4v4, but they made it impossible under anything to be able to do 4v4, even within your squad or your strikers club. That just makes no sense to me. I mean, it's not like Nintendo has never done a 4v4 connection before. There's an entire game called Splatoon that has been doing it since 2015. I can easily find 4 people to join on my team, and I can easily find 4 people to play against. Why is it that we just can't do it? Another thing about online is that it clearly does not care if you are playing as 1 person or playing as 2 people. At this point, once people have learned the game, especially if you have 2 people communicating, having 2 people on a team is a huge advantage. Honestly, a very unfair one. If you lose 2v1, then you just got gamed on. I'm sorry. I can kind of understand why they wouldn't separate the queues. It's kind of a common scummy tactic when you don't think that your game is going to be super popular, because you want people to be able to find online matches, but if no one's playing the game, then you may find it harder to find 2v2s or 1v1s, depending on which one is more popular. But to be honest, this game wouldn't have a lack of players if it just had more content. Also, as for lack of content, we only have 10 characters. What's up with that, dude? I mean, Super Mario Strikers on the GameCube had 9 characters. I have no idea why they just said, yeah, you know what, 10's fine. You can have 10. Though I am glad Daisy's not in the game. I hate Daisy. So that's it. That's every complaint I have about Mario Strikers. I think it's important to make a video like this because it's nice to be transparent and to give criticism when criticism is due. Honestly, I do find a lot of joy in this game. I think it's just nice, clean, fun. It is a very fun game, especially when you partner up with your friends and go online. The biggest thing I want is for them to make it so that you can bring more than 1 striker into striker clubs. I would like them to buff Boom Boom's AI, and I would like to give a little bit more item balance so you're not seeing stars when it's 1-0. Anyway, just those 3 things, I'm perfectly fine. This is like, then no more complaints. I would not complain about anything else about this game if those 3 things got fixed. But as we all know, it's Nintendo, they're probably not doing that. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. If you have any other complaints that I didn't get to in this video, then please leave them below. I want to read how much you hate the game. Really. I'm just kidding. All right, see ya. Have a good day.